Welcome to my channel. It's called Lunasa. In this channel, we do a deep dive into the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn. So for this video, I want to talk about a topic that I find challenging. And I run this channel, it's truly all about Florence, but I find this hard because Florence is of the belief that we can permanently do things, that we can achieve a permanent state of success, a permanent state of bliss, a permanent state of happiness. We bring our heaven down to earth and it's just heaven all the time. I'm of the belief that there are highs and lows to life. I'm of the belief that some days we feel on top of the world and some days we don't want to go on. Some days are great, all our dreams come true. Other days kind of suck and we have no dreams. So Florence always just fascinates me because she is adamant that we can have a permanent state of bliss, a permanent state of success, and I don't see how that's possible. So, okay, Florence writes, the words, why worry? It will probably never happen, were stamped indelibly upon his subconscious mind, and he now has a firm conviction that only good can come into his life, therefore, only good can manifest. So she wrote that in her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, in chapter 1 near the end. So, putting aside my beliefs for a moment, Florence is, well, Florence is trying to remind us always how important it is to believe the very best, how important it is to see clearly our good and to obliterate all mental pictures of evil, which is exactly what she's talking about 2 paragraphs up. And so, to Florence, we don't have the luxury of one day believing in our good and then the next day believing that we're evil and despicable and depraved and horrible. You know, we can't go from you're great, you're amazing to you suck, you suck, you suck so bad. You know, we can't go between the two of them. You got to pick a side. And if you know what's good for you, pick the side of your good. You know, it actually reminds me of the Bible. And I think it's Deuteronomy. In the Old Testament, though, God said, I set before you a choice between life and death. And all of the heavens and all of the earth are going to witness the choice you make. You have to make the choice. Are you going to pick life or are you going to pick death? And then God said, choose life. So the choice is always before us. You gotta choose life. The choice is always before us. We always have the choice about whether we're going to believe the very best or believe the very worst, whether we're going to believe the best in ourselves or whether we're going to believe the worst in ourselves, whether we're going to imagine a great future for ourselves or believe that we deserve the worst. It's always a choice before us, and we have to choose life, always. And what I think always trips us up is that the belief in the negative always feels so strong, always feels like such a fact, always feels such a given that we believe it's the truth. We believe it's the absolute truth. We believe that this is reality and we have just tapped into it. Like, this is the way it is. This is the way it has been, the way it will be. This is how it's always is. And we're just believing the truth. And so we have to realize, no, that's just how we think. That's just the mental pictures of evil we've created. That's just our vain imaginations, to use 2 Florence terminologies. Like, we could easily believe something different about our lives, but then it wouldn't feel true because we truly believe all that negativity, all that doubt, fear, worry, us at our worst is the absolute truth, and we have just tapped into it. So we need to figure this out. And let the Bible be our guide and recognize that that is not the truth. That's not the reality. That it's a choice set before us every day, every hour, every minute. Life or death. To believe the very best or believe the very worst. To believe for the best, to believe for the worst. It's always a choice set before us. And we need to always pick the very best. Always believe in life. Always pick that. Because if you know one thing about God, as it says in Ephesians, God has good plans for us. God is about the good plans. God is about the good stuff. So we need to have a God mind from Florence's perspective. She has the levels of the mind. One is the conscious mind, which shall have all the doubt, fear, worry. And her goal and her hope for all of us is to rise into the superconscious mind, which is the God mind. So now we need to think like God. And God is about good plans. God is about life. God is about the very best. God is about milk and honey. God is about like that. So we need to realize that a choice is being put before us, that it's okay, that it's not a fact, that it's not the truth, that it's not the reality. It's a choice, and it's being put before us each time, and we gotta choose life. We have to choose life. And then something else that Florence likes to talk about is chapter 1 of the Bible, Genesis 1. So Florence notes that when God created us, God, the Elohim, said that we have dominion. We have dominion. So God used their power to give us power and declared that we have dominion. So that's always so important to remember, because the negativity can feel so powerful. Past situations can feel so powerful. The fears can feel so powerful that you truly just want to give up and say, okay, you're so powerful, just do you. Just do you. And maybe you'll wait out the storm. Maybe you've just given up on life or something. But Florence and Genesis want us to remember that when we were created as humans, we were created and given power. We were created and given dominion. We were created and given authority over all on earth. We were created to subjugate the things that are out of control. We were created to bring them under us, under order. So we have dominion. Never forget that. When a thought is so strong and so powerful and so negative, never forget that you have dominion over it, that you don't have to think it anymore, which is a thought that can seem so strange. Like, maybe imagine thoughts as like choices that you get to make. And if you don't like a thought, that you don't have to think it. And you can put it away and think a different thought. You can truly have practice and have dominion over your thoughts. And, back to Deuteronomy, the choice of life and death are set before you. You gotta choose life. You gotta choose life. And so when you choose life, when you believe the very best, believe in yourself, that's when Florence makes a whole lot of sense, that you can stamp the words and stamp these hope indelibly upon your subconscious mind and have a firm conviction that only good can come into your life. Because when you believe the very best, when you believe in yourself, when the pressure and the heat of the day is rolled away, when you pick life, then of course you believe that good can come into your life. When you see clearly you're good, then you know good can come into your life. And like Florence makes a whole lot of sense right then and there. So yeah, the habit that we've gotten into to believe our negative thoughts and the negativity as facts and the truth and the reality and things that have to be thought and have to be encountered. Florence is really challenging it. And it'll be an experience to see if we can just make sure that we experience that permanent state of hope and that permanent state of love. And it just keeps making more sense because, when you do your affirmations, when you believe for something in your life, the best thing you can do is keep the positive atmosphere going. When you have your affirmations and you know what you want, the best thing you can do is create an atmosphere for miracles where you keep believing the best. Your affirmations are like seeds that you plant in the ground. And so the mirror work that you do, the affirmations that you do for the 10 minutes, 1 hour, that's like planting the seed. But as you go throughout your day, you got to keep watering it. You got to keep making sure that the soil is right to actually be for that plant to grow, for the affirmation to grow. And Jesus said it too. In one of his parables, he said, if you have a seed, it's the kingdom of God to him. If you have a seed and you leave it out there in the sun will dry it up. If you leave it out there, the birds will come and snatch it away. If you plant it underneath all of these weeds and stuff, nothing's going to happen to it. It'll choke it out. You have to make sure that the seeds you have are planted properly. So if you're like me, like, there are down times to life, there are hard times to life, and you can't get rid of that, maybe just think the affirmations you've planted deserve good soil after. You've done it for 10 minutes. You've planted them for 10 minutes. They're perfect. They're good. You got to keep nurturing the soil throughout the day, throughout the week, if you want that affirmation to grow. You got to keep creating an atmosphere for the miracle to actually happen. Once you have said it, God is your supply, so all things are possible. But you got to keep creating that atmosphere that will nurture and allow that miracle to happen. Because you can mess it up. Florence has this really great affirmation that says, I do not limit God by seeing limits in myself. When you limit yourself, when you have all that fear, doubt, worry, when you freak out, when you think the worst, when you start to believe the worst, that actually does affect God's ability to work in your life. We truly have been taught that God can overcome all of that. That God, when God wants to, God just makes it happen. And we can be this wretched creature crying out for God, and then God will just make it happen. But Florence is teaching us that we need to create that right atmosphere for God to work. That when we see limits in ourselves, when we limit ourselves, God is limited too. Florence also says that when we are poised and peaceful, then we become a conduit for God to flow through. And if you recognize the power of your state of mind in making these things happen, then you will perk up and you will start acting right. So even if you truly believe that there are winters in life and downs for every ups, and you just try to work with that, when you put together a wish, a hope, a dream, or something, an affirmation, you got to know that you got to treat it right. You got to treat it right. And so for the duration of your affirmation, you truly have to have a firm conviction that only good can happen, and stamp it on your mind that only good's going to happen, and that this is a good thing and that good things are coming into your life. You gotta do your best to make that affirmation, to give it exactly what it needs to come to fruition. Affirmations don't pop into existence. It's not like you say it It's not exactly like you say it right now and then it happens 2 seconds later. It's like you got to give it time, whether it's an hour or 2 days or 2 months or something, you got to give it time. But something else you do while you're giving it time is to nurture it. So when you have that affirmation, you're given it and it's taken its time to happen. You got to keep nurturing it, keep taking care of it all the way through. And that's what's going to truly help. So. Okay, so I'll just end it here. It was a deep dive for real. On my channel, I only do deep dives into the writings of Florence Scovel Shinn. She was a metaphysical writer who wrote 100 years ago. She's legend. She is absolutely legend. Her ideas are phenomenal even to this day. I see them at work in the great metaphysical teachers of today, and they deserve to be studied and brought to your attention. If you're new to Florence, I'll introduce you to her ideas. If you're experienced with Florence, I'll remind you of some of her great works and her great ideas. If you like this, please subscribe to my channel and we can keep doing more of it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to leave me a comment, you can truly do that. Leave a comment. I will see it. I do get notified. I will read it. I will comment back, and it's all good. So if you want to get in touch with me, that's how you can do it. Now, as always, I always end my video by saying, as always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.